So welcome to Books in Focus, where we will be talking about the books coming out in the month of April. I am Miranda, that is Patrick and Ashton. There.
My page says February.
Whoops-a-doodles. So
Oh,
here's
mine does too.
misprint.
Oh.
All the doors of typos.
Misinformation.
We're gonna blame.
Sheet says April.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if we were awake.
Just say, we're gonna blame daylight savings.
That's just the third one, so the last side too.
I thought it was month light savings.
Yes.
Like one
Yeah. So with that, we're gonna hop right into our best-selling fiction titles. The first one we have is Strangers in Time by David Baldacci. This one is set in London, 1944, and it focuses on a bereaved bookshop owner and two teenagers, all three of whom are scarred by the events of World War II, and they are healing. They find hope and hope and help in each other. This book is being described as a riveting story of secrets, betrayal, and unlikely friendships. Next, we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Alice and Hayden are our protagonists, and they are competing authors. They're competing to be the biographer of one Margaret Ives, an 80-year-old woman who is the daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. This is a heartwarming enemies to lovers romance with widely relatable and unforgettable characters. Next, we have 25 Alive by James Patterson and Maxine Pietro. This is the latest in the Women's Murder Club series. In this one, Sergeant Lindsay, Boxer's friend and former partner, is brutally murdered in Golden Gate Park. Boxer must act fast if she is going to stop the killer before they strike again in this heart-pounding thriller. Next, we have Overkill by J.A. Jance. Allie Reynolds returns in this high-octane thriller. An open and shut murder case isn't what it seems, and someone is targeting Reynolds' text expert Callie Lee. Time is running out to find the real killer and keep Cammy safe. Next, we have A Mind of Her Own by Danielle Steele. In this new book, a young French-American woman has to rise above the devastation of World War I as she struggles to not only keep her independence, but remain true to herself in this sweeping novel about resilience and courage. Next, we have The Griffin Sisters, Greatest Hits by Jennifer Weir. Set in the world of pop music about sisters who reach dizzying heights of fame as a musical act together, then mysteriously break up. It is up to one of the sisters' daughters to figure out why. This is being described as a dazzling novel about family, young love, and the dreams that we chase. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This is a playful yet deeply emotional romance about two individuals who are wrong for each other at the right time and right for each other at the wrong time. Next, and finally, we have The Murder Machine by Heather Graham. Strange accidents begin to pile up at a state-of-the-art house with its own personal AI. There's no place to hide when the danger may be as close as the very phone in your pocket in this gritty, high-tech murder mystery.
So the next day is a memoir / self-help book by Melinda French Gates, in which she reflects on some of the most significant transitions in her own life, such as becoming a parent, the death of a friend, etc., to illuminate universal lessons like embracing uncertainty and helping friends. Miracles and Wonders by Elaine Pagels, who is a renowned scholar, presents a new account of the life of Jesus that explores the mystery of how a poor young man inspired a religion that reshaped the world. Secrets of Adulthood by Gretchen Rubin. She's a New York Times best-selling author. She wrote something called The Happiness Project. In this latest book, she distills her key insights into simple truths for living with greater satisfaction, clarity, and happiness. In Autism Out Loud by Kate Swenson, you have 3 mothers of autistic children from different parts of the country and backgrounds who share their experiences and what they've learned being parents of autistic children to help other parents know what it's like and to feel less alone. Fahrenheit 182 by Mark Hoppus. Mark Hoppus is the bassist for the band Blink-182. So this one's being described as a smart, funny, and refreshing memoir of the founding member of pop-punk band Blink-182, in which he shares how he came of age and formed one of the biggest bands of his generation. Stephen Gundry has a new book coming out called The Gut-Brain Paradox. He also wrote the Plant Paradox series. In this new book, he shares compelling evidence that our gut microbiome drives our mental and emotional states and how we can improve it. Then in The Golden Road by William Dalrymple, in this book he draws from a lifetime of scholarship to highlight India's often forgotten position as the heart of ancient Eurasia, and talks about Indian ideas that transformed the world. And then lastly, Matriarch by Tina Knowles. This is the autobiography of the mother of Beyonce Knowles. It's a multi-generational family saga that carries within it the story of America and the wisdom that women pass on to each other, mothers to daughters across generations. All right. So first up, we have Ruth Run by Elizabeth Kaufman. This one is a debut novel. It's an irresistible cat and mouse thriller with a plucky heroine, slimy villain, and pedal to the metal pacing. So Ruth is a brilliant 26-year-old cyber criminal who robbed banks for 5 years while living in her San Francisco apartment. Now she, accompanied by her dog, is on the run from the law, and she meets a host of eccentric characters along the way. One of Ruth's pursuers is a government agent with an unhealthy obsession with her, a former colleague with stalker tendencies. Book list says, skillfully mixing intrigue, technology, and sharp psychological insight, Ruth Run is a nuanced portrayal of a brash anti-hero and the federal agent who's had his eye on her for years. For what it's worth, the author used to work in data networking, so she's got a background in tech. A couple read-alikes would be The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, that you've probably all heard of, by Stieg Larsson. It's another thriller with a tech-savvy female protagonist that also explores ethical dilemmas. And Stone Cold Fox, this was a debut thriller in 2023 about a young con woman who wants to leave her past behind and has a similar cat and mouse element to it. The Snares, this is another debut. It's a morally complicated spy thriller, intense family drama set during the final months of George W. Bush's presidency. The main character is a Punjabi American lawyer and former U.S. naval officer who works for a federal intelligence agency where he faces moral dilemmas over practices like surveillance and drone strikes. It's a striking and uncompromising meditation on the war on terror's human cost. You have themes of ambition, free will, and the line between what's right and wrong. First read-alike is American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. In this one, a female intelligence officer works to undermine the revolutionary communist president of Burkina Faso, whom she secretly admires. That one is inspired by true events. And then Ilium by Leah Carpenter, I think it just came out last year or the year before. This is another gripping and immersive spy novel with a more literary bent about a young English woman who was drawn into espionage.
Good afternoon, ladies.
Hi.
Kelly Mullins got This Is Not a Game coming out, a suspenseful and quirky mystery novel set on Mackinac Island where, and I'm sure you're all aware, cars are banned and life moves at a slower pace. Mimi, a widow who enjoys the simple pleasures of the island, invites her granddaughter, Addie, for a weekend getaway as Addie is nursing a broken heart. Mimi and Addie are drawn into a stormy weekend when they attend a charity auction hosted by Jane Ireland, a manipulative socialite with a secret affair. What Mimi hasn't shared with Addie is that Jane has been blackmailing her and the threat hangs over the event. When a storm traps everyone in Jane's mansion, things take a dark turn. Jane is found dead. A suspicion mounts. Mimi and Addie use their sharp skills, Mimi's love for crossword puzzles, and Addie's expertise in game design to unravel the mystery. Reader likes are going to be The Antique Hunter's Death on the Red Sea by C.L. Miller. Freya Lockwood and her aunt Carol are called to investigate when a painting disappears from a maritime museum and a body is discovered nearby. Their search leads them to a luxurious antiques cruise bound for the Red Sea, where they uncover a troubling secret. The ship's art gallery is filled with stolen antiques, many of which are detailed in Freya's late mentor's journals linked to unsolved cases. As they delve deeper into the mystery, they realize the ship is harboring a dangerous art trafficker known as the Collector. And The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Lo Blacklock, a journalist for a travel magazine, is given the opportunity of a lifetime, spending a week aboard a luxurious cruise ship. The voyage starts off beautifully, but things take a dark turn when Lo witnesses a woman being thrown overboard. When she tries to alert others, the problem is dismissed. Everyone on board is accounted for, and the ship continues its journey as if nothing has happened. Lo is left alone with the terrifying knowledge that something has gone terribly wrong. But no one believes her, and she must uncover the truth herself before they make the land. The Pretender by Joe Harkin is a sweeping historical novel set during the rise of the Tudor dynasty, focusing on Lambert Simnel, a boy raised in obscurity as a peasant to protect his identity. Believed to be the rightful heir to the throne, he is briefly crowned as King Edward VI at just 10 years old, one of the last of the Plantagenets. Sure. The story begins in 1480 when John Collin, a humble village boy, discovers that he is the son of a long-dead Duke of Clarence, hidden away to protect him from Richard III's dangerous political maneuvers. I got The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell, set in the 9th and 10th centuries during the time when King Alfred the Great and his successors fought to defend England from Viking invasions. The story is told through the eyes of Uhtred, a nobleman whose family is killed in a Viking raid. Captured as a child by the Danes, Uhtred is raised by them and comes to identify with their culture, even as he harbors a deep resentment for Alfred, who he sees as a pious and ineffective leader. As the Danes advance into Alfred's kingdom, Uhtred is caught between his loyalty to the Danes and the growing realization that he must choose a side. We got The Lost Queen by Signe Pike, the first of the debut trilogy, the untold story of Londaruth, a forgotten queen of 6th century Scotland, unfolds. Londaruth is the twin sister of Lailakin, the man who's inspired the legend of Merlin, raised in the land of mountains, mists, and ancient traditions. She and her brother are taught old ways, but Scotland is on the brink of great change. So
in the audition, an elegant actress meets a troubled young man at a Manhattan lunch, sparking a complex relationship that challenges their identities in their personal and professional lives. So the book's unnamed narrator is a well-known theater actress who was rehearsing for a new role, and while giving some clues, the true nature of her relationship with the handsome young man is a mystery that the reader is eager to get to the bottom of. Kitamura's prose is hypnotic and finely observant with a cool detachment. Throughout, she succeeds in creating a complex and engrossing portrayal of her character's blurry boundaries. Readers won't be able to put this down. It's a provocative and taut story that explores the topic of the unknowability of others. So, literary suspense. The Dinner is another darkly suspenseful story. This one's about two families struggling to make the hardest decision of their lives over the course of a single meal. And Rachel Cusk with Outline, this one has a similar style of writing. It's a novel in 10 conversations that follows a novelist who is teaching a writing course during an oppressively hot summer in Athens. Passion Project is another debut author named London Sperry. It's a big-hearted, thoughtful romance set in New York City. Bennett Taylor is a young woman still grieving the death of her boyfriend 2 years earlier. She connects with Henry, a compassionate man who proposes they go on weekly adventures to discover new passions in life. So this is from Library Journal. Sperry excels at portraying the complexities of grief without overwhelming the story's hopeful undertones. While romance blooms between Bennett and Henry, the novel's true strength lies in its profound character development. Henry's patient, understanding approach to Bennett's healing process creates a compelling dynamic that feels both realistic and emotionally satisfying. So for reader likes, first I have When You're Ready by Kareem Rosser. This is a heartfelt love story that also incorporates loss and hardship while still ultimately uplifting the reader. And Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer. This was a review recommended Jimenez as a read-alike author to Sperry. She's known to write funny, emotional, life-affirming stories. This one's about a couple who aim to have a quick summer fling to remedy their cursed dating lives. And I bet it turns into something more long-term. What do you think? So this one's a mystery. You got an amateur sleuth. Disgraced movie star Julia Mann wakes up after a night of heavy drinking to find her Hollywood nemesis dead in her swimming pool. Police suspect Julia, who was arrested years ago after the death of her own husband. And at her side, one of the only people willing to stick out her neck for Julia is Natasha, who is a smart, sarcastic Gen Zer, who is also Julia's AA sponsor. Full of the witty banter and laugh out loud scenarios readers have come to expect from Waxman, this raucous romp around Tinseltown with an odd couple of sleuths will delight readers. So this would be for fans of movie buffs and if you like your mysteries with a little more comedy. And the Killer Is by G.A. McKevitt. This is I think it's the latest in the Savannah Reed mystery series. It has a husband and wife private investigator team, and in this one they're looking into the murder of a 90-year-old former movie star. And then Wishbones by Carolyn Haynes, also part of a large series. And in this particular one, the private investigator main character lands a role in a racy Hollywood remake. And it's not long before rivalries flare and mysterious accidents occur.
Next, we have Small Ceremonies by Kyle Edwards. This is being described as a poignant and heart-wrenching, humor-flecked coming-of-age story. In this story, we follow the friendships, hopes, fears, and struggles of a group of Native high school students from Winnipeg, Manitoba's northern end. They are on a hockey team together and worrying about their future. The main focus of this book is to illustrate what it's like growing up in the heart of an Indigenous city. So my read-alikes, the first one is There There by Tommy Orange, because this one similarly follows a large cast of characters, and it focuses on individuals from Native communities who are traveling to the big Oakland powwow, and together this book is a chorus of voices that tells the plight of urban Native Americans grappling with complex and painful histories, identities, and spiritualities. And then next I have Probably Ruby by Lisa Bird Wilson. I selected this one just because it's also something of a coming-of-age story. It is about an Indigenous woman who is adopted by a white family, and it has sparked her lifelong journey to discover who she is, her identity, and her overall identity. It's told through a kaleidoscope of moments and perspectives. We follow her as she searches for her heritage and comes to terms with being disconnected from her culture, language, and people. Next we have The Death Among Us by Abigail Dean. This is a thriller. This one, I'll be real honest with you, I'm not a big thriller fan, and I'm really, really intrigued by this one. It's bringing together the slow burn of a psychological suspense and the propulsive drive of a crime thriller. This novel tells the story of a marriage over decades that's turned inside out by a violent encounter that sets fires to the hairline faults that were already there from the start. So I'm really, really intrigued by that because it spans several decades. My first read-alike is Night Watching by Tracy Sierra. I chose this as a read-alike because of its similar tone and longer kind of storytelling style. Old houses make strange noise, but that sounds like a heavy footfall on the stair. Our unnamed protagonist is tucking her 2 young children into bed while a blizzard rages outside when she realizes that they are not alone in the house. This is an emotionally intense, anxious, well-written story about a family, a terrible night, and the fault lines that shape us. Next, I have Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ning. I selected this as a read-alike just because, again, that idea of how one night, one incident can affect an entire family. In this, James and Marilyn Lee have big hopes and plans for their middle daughter, Lydia. But when Lydia's body is found, her parents become consumed by guilt, vengeance, and set on a path that will destroy their family. This is described as a gripping story about love, secrets, and longing. And then this one, just to lighten the mood a little bit, is The Folklore of Forever by Sarah Hoggle. This is actually her second in this Moonville series, and if the name Moonville is striking any chords, it is set in Moonville, Ohio. It is a steamy enemies to lovers romantasy about a paranormal skeptic who is roped into a ghost hunting romp by the charming boy next door who might just show her what real fantasies are made of. Set in, again, the real town of Moonville, Ohio, it is a light-hearted romantasy that promises to add a little magic to your reading list. Sorry, I couldn't resist the bad pun. The first read-alike I have is This Spells Love by Kate Robb because it has a very similar tone. In this one, a young woman tries to heal her heartbreak by casting a spell to erase from her life, her ex, completely from her past, and she doesn't really think it's gonna work, but when she wakes up in an alternate reality, she's lost more than she wished to in this witty, whimsical friends to lovers story. And then the other read alike I have is actually the first in the Newtonville series. We are introduced to the small magical town tucked away in rural Ohio. When an innocent misunderstanding becomes a week-long fake dating scheme, our protagonist, Ramona, resolves to make the boy who broke her heart 11 years ago pay.
How to Seal Your Own Fate is a sequel to How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Herron. In the present day, Annie Adams has just settled into her new life in the village when she encounters Pony Lane, a local fortune teller who gives her a mysterious warning. Hours later, Pony is found dead inside the locked Gravesdown estate, and Anne quickly becomes the prime suspect. To clear her name, Annie must dig into the village's dark secrets to uncover what Pony was trying to warn her about before her life unravels. The story also shifts to 1967, where teenage Frances Adams is still reeling from the disappearance of her friend Emily a year earlier. She becomes involved with two very different men, Ford Gravesdown, the heir to a powerful family with questionable ties, and Archie Foyle, a local outcast. Together they investigate a car crash that killed Ford's family, uncovering a web of lies, cover-ups, and betrayal. As Frances learns more, she begins to question who she can trust and what dark forces have been hiding in Castle Hall. Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thorogood introduces Judith Potts, a 77-year-old woman living a peaceful, independent life in a mansion outside Marlowe, a crossword setter for the New York Times, or just the Times, enjoys her solitude and whiskey. However, her life takes an unexpected turn when she witnesses a brutal murder while swimming in the Thames. The police dismissed her account, so Judith decides to investigate the crime herself. And The Antique Hunter's Guide to the Murder, I just talked about the sequel, is a thrilling debut. Freya Lockwood, a former antique hunter, is pulled back into the dangerous world of stolen artifacts when she learns of the suspicious death of her estranged mentor. Teaming up with her eccentric aunt Carol, Freya follows the clues to her old manor house, hosting an antiques enthusiasts weekend. The Impossible Thing by Belinda Bauer. In 1926, on the cliffs of Yorkshire, men risked their lives to steal prized sea bird eggs, with the most beautiful eggs fetching high prices. A poor, neglected girl stumbles upon such extraordinary egg, a discovery that will dramatically change the course of her life. A century later, in a secluded Welsh cottage, Patrick Fort finds his friend Nick and his mother bound and robbed, with one item missing, a carved case containing a rare scarlet egg. Determined to recover it, Patrick and Nick uncover a dangerous world of egg trafficking. Their investigation leads them to a long-lost collection of priceless eggs, now at the center of a high-stakes pursuit. Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee follows Will Shen, a Harvard senior who leads a heist to reclaim 5 priceless Chinese sculptures looted centuries ago. As a perfect student and the embodiment of his parents' American dream, Will's life is upended when a mysterious Chinese benefactor offers him an illegal job to steal back the treasures from Western museums.
Wasn't that a book?
That was a book discussion a while ago, like right when I started, probably like 2 years ago. And then the cartographers, Peng Shepherd. In Neil Young, a passionate cartographer, is estranged from her father, Dr. Daniel Young, a renowned figure in the field, after a bitter fallout. When Dr. Young is found dead at the New York Public Library, Neil decides to investigate. As she digs deeper, she uncovers the Dark family's secret, leading her on a dangerous adventure.
I enjoyed that one.
We got lots of debuts. This is another debut, The Eights by Joanna Miller. This one is about 4 disparate women who are part of the first group of female students admitted to Oxford University in 1920. So they all become hallmates in Corridor 8, hence earning the nickname The Eights. And together they navigate personal trials as well as the broader sexism of the university culture and the changes brought by the First World War. The Eights is an engrossing story with well-written characters that explores themes of coming of age and war-related trauma. The Liberty Scarf, which is written by 3 different authors, is a novel about a single scarf that links 3 extraordinary women, each battling societal expectations, enduring the devastations of war, and striving for personal growth amidst the chaos of World War I. And then The Divorcees by Rowan Beard is a novel set in a 1950s Reno divorce ranch that explores the complex friendship between 2 women who dare to imagine a different future. And in case you missed it, if you're looking for a nonfiction read-alike, Yale Needs Women by Anne Gardner Perkins, which was a book discussion pick maybe a couple years ago. It was about the first female students at Yale. Another debut, The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This is a moving story about grief and regret in which a 73-year-old retired lawyer, divorced grandmother, and devoted letter writer receives a note that forces her to look back at a painful episode in her life. Sybil has a routine most mornings of sitting down and writing letters to various people in her life, and also to one person to whom she never sends the letter that she writes. But when letters from someone in her past arrive, she realizes that the unsent letter she's been writing needs to be read after all. Equal parts sorrow and quiet joy, the stuff of life. It will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will make you reflect, as all the best novels do. First read-alike is Interpretations of Love by Jane Campbell. Tensions abound at a small wedding that brings together a group of guests, each of whom is carrying his or her own hidden burden. And if I remember correctly, that author I think is in her 80s, which makes it a little more unique. And then After Annie by Anna Quinlan is about a family who is struggling to find ways to go on after the woman who was the center of their lives dies.
Serial Killer Games. Kate Posey. Dolores de la Cruz is convinced her new coworker, Jack the Ripper, is a serial killer. He fits the profile perfectly with his charm and good looks. Jack, on the other hand, finds a surprising distraction in Dolores, an enigmatic temp with a combative edge. Their growing darkly romantic flirtation makes Jack wonder if he's found someone who truly understands it. But everything takes a dangerous turn when Dolores asks for Jack's help in disposing of the body. My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyen Khan Braithwaite. Corrende has always cleaned up after her sister Eule's deadly actions, which justifies his self-defense. This is the 3rd boyfriend Eule has killed, and Corende is once again left to deal with the aftermath. Though she's tempted to go to the police, her loyalty to her sister keeps her complicit. However, things take a darker turn when Eule starts dating the Dr. Korede has long been in love with. Now Korede faces an impossible choice: save her sister or save the man she loves. And A Serial Killer's Guide to Marriage by Asia Mackey. When they learned they were pregnant, Hazel and Fox gave up their lavish lifestyle of high city life, amazing vacations, upper class food, and murdering all the evil people they could find. Now they live in a quiet suburbs raising their new child. Fox transitions to the strict rules of fatherhood very well, but Hazel finds herself up to her old habits. A corpse and nosy police begin to threaten their new ways of life. The Siren by Amelia Hart, two intertwined stories across centuries. In 2019, Lucy wakes up in her ex-lover's room with no memory of how she got there, only to find herself horrified by the act of almost choking him. She flees to her sister Jess's house in New South Wales, but Jess is missing. As Lucy searches for answers, she uncovers eerie rumors about missing men and strange happenings in the town. Meanwhile, in the 1800s, sisters Mary and Eliza are torn from their home in Ireland and transported to Australia aboard a convict ship, where they experience mysterious changes in their bodies. As Lucy's dreams grow stronger, she begins to unravel a connection between her and the sisters from the past. Sister Snake by Amanda Lee Coe tells the story of two sisters, Sue and Emerald, who lead very different lives but share a mysterious and ancient bond. Sue is a sheltered, wealthy wife of a conservative politician in Singapore, while Emerald is a nihilistic sugar baby in New York. Living by her beauty and charm, the two were once snakes in the Tang Dynasty, China, a secret that still connects them. After Emerald is finally attacked in Central Park, Sue flies to New York, and the sisters attempt a fragile reconciliation. And in Bear by Julia Phillips, two sisters, Sam and Alina, who dream of escaping their struggling life on the island off the coast of Washington. Sam works on the ferry while Alina bartends, but their efforts aren't enough to make ends meet. One night, Sam spots a bear swimming in the dark waters, and when it appears near their home, Sam becomes convinced it's time to leave the island. However, Elena feels a mystical connection to the bear and is hesitant to abandon their home. This novel explores the bonds of sisterhood, the mysteries of the natural world, and the powerful forces that shape our lives, blending mythology with emotional depth.
Hello. This is Cat People, I promise. I did not write this book. This is by Tanya Gill. By Tanya. In this book, a stray cat named Cat brings together 5 strangers over the course of one fateful summer. This book is being described as a heartwarming novel about love, found family, and the power of connection and feline companionship. I don't want to go into more detail because I don't want to give anything away. So my first read-alike is The Boy and the Dog by Seishu Hase. This is a read-alike because it also talks about people and their connection to an animal, in this case a dog. Set in Japan after the aftermath of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, we follow how one dog changes the lives of everyone who takes him in as he journeys to reunite with his first owner. This is being described as an inspiring tribute to the bonds between humans and dogs.
It's a nice book. I read that one.
Yeah, me too. I liked it a lot. The next one is The Ghost Cat by Alex Howard. It starts with an English proverb. A cat has 9 lives. For 3 he plays, for 3 he strays, and for the last 3 he stays. This is a unique and magical book. We follow the cat Grimalkin while he becomes the ghost cat of a house in an Edinburgh tenement. It is described as a leisurely paced, heartwarming book about the true meaning of feline companionship as he haunts the people who live there.
So in Tough Luck by Sandra Dallas, a brother and sister escape an orphanage and journey to Colorado Territory with the aim of finding their father, who left years earlier to search for gold in the West. Full of humor, heart, and hope, this novel is a delight for anyone looking for a Western with a little less grit and a little more gentleness. Readers who like happy endings to their adventures will be drawn in by evocative period details, engaging characters, and strong narrative voice. The publisher says this is kind of an homage to True Grit, for what that's worth. For read alikes, first there's Chasing the Horizon by Mary Connolly. She writes historical inspirational fiction. This one's about a young woman and her mother who join a wagon train west to escape the young woman's tyrannical father. And in Nancy Turner's Light Changes Everything, this is a warm-hearted novel set in early 18th century Arizona, and it's about one indomitable woman's frontier life touched by tragedy and hope.
Happy Land by Dolan Perkins Valdez. In this, a young woman, Nikki, is summoned to the bedside of her estranged and dying grandmother, who reveals secrets not about Nikki's mother, but about her great-great-great-grandmother and the forgotten kingdom of Happy Land. This book is inspired by true events and is being described as a transporting, multi-generational novel about the stories that shape us and the dazzling courage it takes to dream. The first read like I have is Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson because of its similar multi-generational focus. This is a sweeping, evocative novel about the daughter of an affluent Black family, Eddie, who is piecing together the connection between the tragedy of her brother's murder and a beloved heirloom. Next, I have Memphis by Tara Stringfellow, also because of the multi-generational focus. This book unfolds over the span of 70 years through a chorus of unforgettable characters that move back and forth through time. This novel paints a vivid picture of 3 generations of a Southern Black family and the complex webs of inheritance, legacy, faith, forgiveness, sacrifice, and love.
Who Will Remember by C.S. Harris. Set in 1816 during England's year without a summer, the country is plagued by economic turmoil and the threat of violent riots. Amidst this chaos, Lord Preston Farnsworth is found murdered in a disturbing pose resembling the Hanged Man tarot card. A crusader against crime and immorality, Lord Preston's brutal death shocks the monarchy and the public. Sebastian St. Cyr, Viscount Devlin, is drawn into the investigation when he discovers the body and uncovers Lord Preston's many enemies, including Major Hugh Chandler, a close friend of Sebastian's. As more victims are found with tarot cards placed on their bodies, Sebastian must solve the puzzle before the killer strikes again, all while navigating the tensions of post-war London. This is the 20th in a series. So, and then sticking on series, number 2 in Wexford and Sloane Mysteries, Murder at Half Moon Gate by Andrea Penrose. Lord Rexford discovers the body of a gifted inventor in a dark London alley. Initially leaving the investigation to the authorities, he becomes involved when the inventor's widow claims the death was not a random robbery. The missing designs for a revolutionary steam-powered engine could be worth a fortune and dangerous if in the wrong hands. Rexford teams up with Charlotte Sloan, a sharp political cartoonist, with a network of informants to investigate. And more recently in the Lily Adler mystery series, A Scandal in Mayfair, set in 1817 London, Lily Adler returns to her home feeling more settled, no longer a recent widow and with new responsibilities, including mentoring her protege, Amelia. Amelia, the sister of Lily's friend Jack Hartley, has escaped a scandal and murder. When a young woman seeks Lily's help with a missing will and family secrets, Lily soon finds herself entangled in a case involving a dead body, blackmail, and danger. Charles Martin's The Keeper, the fourth and final installment in the Murphy Shepherd series, in which the titular character is devastated by the loss of his mentor, Bones, and unsure of how to continue their fight against human trafficking. When the three daughters of his longtime friend, U.S. Vice President Aaron Ashley, are kidnapped with no trace left behind, Murph and his team are the only ones who can save them. As Murph embarks on his first rescue mission without Bones, he confronts a dark network of evil and power, uncovering political intrigue as a new presidential candidate emerges. Murph's mission takes him across the globe, showing the profound cost of human trafficking and the power of love and sacrifice in the fight for freedom. The gripping story is a mix of love, loss, and action, raising the stakes as Murphy battles to save lives and dismantle the trafficking network. And Oath and Honor by Lynette Eason. Police officer Isabel St. John is devastated when her partner is murdered, and she barely survives the attack. Determined to uncover the truth, her investigation leads her into a criminal organization with possible ties to corrupt cops, including someone in her own family. And one little thing, by Colleen Coble, Jane Hardley is appointed interim sheriff in her hometown of Felton Harbor, Alabama, following her father's retirement. Her life takes a sudden turn when her father is arrested for theft and implicated in the murder, leading Jane to suspect someone is targeting her family as she investigates. She wonders if someone from her past, when she escaped a cult 15 years ago, is behind the attacks.
Six Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi. This is a sweeping historical novel that follows a young Anglo-Indian nurse, Sonia, who embarks on a journey from her home in Bombay through Prague, Florence, Paris, and London to uncover a mystery and prove her innocence after a famous painter dies in her care. Along the way, she must come to terms with her complex family history. This is being described as opening a door to a fascinating, lush, richly detailed world of contradictions. The first read alike I have is actually Joshi's debut. It is The Henna Artist, and it's the beginning of her trilogy. This is a vivid and compelling portrait of a woman's struggle for fulfillment and independence as she takes on the responsibility of caring for her young sister, and it is an excellent introduction to that author and her writing style. And it is delightful. It is one of my favorite books that I read last year, or year before last. Next we have The Museum of Failures by Tirti Nigar. I selected this book as a read-alike because of its focus on dealing with complex family histories, and it's also set in Bombay. This is also a story of an individual coming to terms with a complex array of family secrets when he returns to Bombay. He believed himself to be an only child with a doting father and a cold mother. He is forced on a journey of discovery when he finds a photo of a boy who bears a striking family resemblance.
The 6 Days in Bombay is not a sequel to the Henna Artist.
Correct. It is a standalone. At least the intention for right now is that it is a standalone book. If it's super popular, I wouldn't be surprised if she turns it into something more, but as it stands right now,
But it is not a continuation.
Correct. Yep. Fun for the Whole Family by Jennifer Smith. In this new book, the four Endicott siblings were once inseparable, a bond created by the absence of their dazzling mother who would appear and whisk them off on cross-country road trips. Decades later, the unthinkable has happened and the four siblings have become estranged, until the youngest sends a text message out of the blue begging for her siblings to get together. This is described as a breathtaking, joy-filled novel about the people we love, the secrets we keep, and the enduring power of family. And with its focus on family and siblings relationships, that was the main thing for both of my read-alikes. The first one, which is a little bit more on the serious side, is French Braid by Ann Taylor. It is full of heartbreak and hilarity. It is a multi-perspective story about one family's foibles from the 1950s to a longed-for reunion in the pandemic present. The next one I have is The Shred Sisters by Betsy. Olivia and Amy are sisters. Amy is cautious and studious to her core with dreams of winning a Nobel Prize and unlocking the mysteries of the mind. Olivia is beautiful, confident, and charismatic, and it masks the bipolar disorder that will shatter Amy's carefully constructed world. And then My Documents. This book is about the path of four family members that diverge drastically when the United States government begins detaining Vietnamese Americans after a series of violent attacks. Pulling inspiration from Japanese internment, modern issues, and the Vietnamese experience, this book is being described as a sharp, touching novel about coming of age at the intersection of ambition and assimilation. So the first read-alike I selected was The Sympathizer. This book is described on multiple lists and things as being a quintessential read to understanding the Vietnamese American experience. It is set in April 1975. Saigon is in chaos, and a general is in his villa drawing up lists of those who are going to America as America is pulling out of Vietnam. As he and his compatriots begin a new life in the States, little do they know that one among them is actually a Viet Cong sympathizer. Next is actually a nonfiction title. It is They Called Us Enemies by George Takei. It is a graphic novel memoir of George Takei's experience as a young child growing up in the Japanese internment camps. It is described as heartbreaking and informative, and shows the Herculean efforts of his parents to not only get through each day in the camps, but also to shelter their children. George Takei further shows how his experience in the camps has impacted him as an adult. With that, we will start our nonfiction section.
From New Yorker writer Michael Luo, however you say that, comes a masterful narrative history of the Chinese in America that traces the sorrowful theme of exclusion and documents their more than century-long struggle to belong. So this book traces more than 100 years of Chinese people in America, starting in the middle of the 19th century, when thousands immigrated here during the gold rush, and goes up to the mid-20th century when the U.S. started welcoming immigration from Taiwan and opened the door to people like the author's parents. It's a profound and richly detailed history. This brought to mind The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson, which chronicles the decades-long migration of millions of Black citizens who fled the South for northern and western cities in search of a better life. And Ghosts of Mountain Gold by Gordon Chang is another groundbreaking history. This one's about the Chinese workers who built the Transcontinental Railroad, helping to forge modern America, only to disappear into the shadows of history until now. Valley of Forgetting is a powerful book that recounts the decades-long effort led by heroic neurologist Francisco Lopera Restrepo to study a Colombian community with a rare genetic mutation that causes early onset Alzheimer's. Smith offers an accessible overview of how genetic factors contribute to dementia, but the real draw is the finely observed portrait of Lopera and the heartrending stories of young people left to care for dying parents and siblings whose mental declines start as early as their mid-30s, while also grappling with the fear that they may too carry the mutation. It's a poignant depiction of a community in crisis. So this one reminded me of Hidden Valley Road, which was a book discussion pick. This one's about a family of schizophrenics who were studied by the National Institutes of Mental Health and gets into the science of schizophrenia. And My Father's Brain is a doctor's memoir about his father's experience of dementia and an overview of the history of and latest findings on the disease.
I'm going to do something a little bit. We're going to start with a read-alike. This is actually the sequel to, so The Fate of the Day by Rick Atkinson is a sequel to The British Are Coming by Rick Atkinson. You don't really see too many sequels in nonfiction. So, The British Are Coming, The British Are Coming, The British Are Coming. Rick Atkinson, acclaimed for his World War II books, shifts his focus to the American Revolution. This first volume of the Revolutionary trilogy covers the first 20 months of the war, from the battles of Lexington and Concord in 75 to Trenton and Princeton in 77. The Continental Army, a ragtag force, faces the world's most powerful military and gradually discovers the will and tactics to fight for independence. Atkinson brings to life key figures such as Henry Knox, Nathaniel Greene, Benjamin Franklin, and George Washington, highlighting their personal growth and leadership. The book also offers insights into the British perspective, adding depth to the conflict. Rich in detail and untold stories, the British Are Coming portrays the struggles for freedom, filled with heroism, sacrifice, and profound challenges, ultimately leading to the inevitable choices between death and victory. And now we have The Fate of the Day, which is the second volume. Chronicles the middle years of the Revolutionary War, covering the period between 77 and 79. The Continental Army under George Washington is on the brink of collapse, but continues to fight against the formidable British forces. Meanwhile, King George III faces mounting difficulties as the war becomes increasingly costly and the threat of French and Spanish involvement looms. Atkinson highlights key events, including battles at Brandywine, Saratoga, Monmouth, and Charleston, the hardships of Valley Forge, and Washington's struggle to secure resources from Congress. The narrative offers a gripping account of the conflict, emphasizing the sacrifices required by the American people to sustain their fight for independence. And then a non-Rick Atkinson read-alike is going to be Nathaniel Philbrick's Valiant Ambition, which explores the complex and tragic relationships between George Washington and Benedict Arnold during the middle years of the American Revolution. The book begins in September of '76 after Washington's Continental Army suffers a major defeat and evacuates New York, and follows Arnold's heroic effort to delay the British advance on Lake Champlain. All right, here's the fun one. Uncharted by Chris Whipple, the best-selling author of Gatekeepers and the Spy Masters, provides an insider account of the dramatic 2024 presidential race. The book details the high-stakes showdown between the Harris and Trump campaigns, offering a fly-on-the-wall perspective on key moments, including a disastrous debate, an assassination attempt, a last-minute candidate swap, surprising VP picks, betrayals, and charges of stolen election. Whipple draws an exclusive access to both sides of the race, revealing how a post-debate rebellion led Biden to step aside. Harris reshaped the race at the convention, and Trump navigated primary challenges and multiple legal battles while forging new alliances with figures like Elon Musk. Filled with untold stories and insights, Uncharted provides a comprehensive look at the 2024 election, highlighting the ambition, conviction, and resilience shaping America's political future. My reader likes Uncharted.
I got out of modern day.
Back. The Lincoln Miracle by Edward Aghorn. The Lincoln recounts the 1860 Republican National Convention, where Abraham Lincoln, a political underdog, unexpectedly secured the presidential nomination. Despite his past failures and William Seward's being the front runner, Lincoln's quiet strategy and political genius won the day. Acorn captures the intense political drama exploring issues of slavery and racism, and follows key figures like Thurlow Weed and Horace Greenleaf through vivid storytelling. The book highlights the tense, pivotal moments that led to Lincoln's rise and forever changed America's history. Then we got From Garfield to Harding by Jeffrey Norman Burden. In 1880, James Garfield revolutionized presidential campaigning by welcoming voters to his farm where they could meet him, listen to his speeches, and interact with his family. This approach attracted thousands of diverse voters and helped Garfield win the presidency. His front porch campaign style was later adopted by Benjamin Harrison in 1888, William McKinley in 1896, and Warren Harding in 1920, each attracting large crowds. This method, which humanized candidates and made them more relatable, set the stage for modern political campaigning, where candidates are marketed as brands and often travel the country to engage directly with voters.
We're in the home stretch. Here we have Rethinking Medication by Dr. Jerry Avorn. He, in this book, presents a compelling and nuanced narrative about the issues faced by the FDA's drug evaluation process on multiple fronts. Dr. Avorn uses his decades of experience as a researcher and professor at Harvard Medical School to provide a unique perspective and actionable steps for consumers, policymakers, and medical practitioners. The first read-alike I have is Blind Spots by Marty Markey. When modern medicine issues recommendations based on good scientific studies, it shines. Conversely, when it is interpreted through the harsh lens of opinion, edict, and hubris, it causes great harm to both patients and the process. This is an accessibly written book that uses meticulous research that talks about the critical topics and blind spots of modern medicine. How Medicine Works and When It Doesn't by Dr. F. Perry Wilson blends personal anecdotes and hard science, accomplished physician and researcher and science communicator, giving readers the tools to combat medical misinformation and restore trust between doctors, nurses, and patients. Next, we have Ordinary Time by Anna B. Jones. This is a memoir of an independent bookstore owner. If you may have heard of her, she has a very popular podcast titled From the Front Porch. she, in this memoir, is challenging the idea that loud lives are ones that matter more than quiet ones, reminding us that we don't have to leave the lives that we love to find meaning. Rambling through her small town experience, Amy Jones describes her awakening to the gifts of quiet life spent together with and around the place where she grew up. The first read like I have is Quiet by Susan Cain. I selected this one because it also focuses on the value of quietness in the form of introverted individuals who make up about 1/3 of the population. In this book, she argues that we as a society dramatically undervalue introverts and shows how much we stand to lose when we do so. This book is passionately argued, superbly researched, and impressively written, and is still, even though it was published originally in 2012, considered a core book on the subject. And finally, we have Hiding in the Bathroom. This is a complimentary manual to empowering professionals of all ages and levels to take control and build their own version of success. Maura, who is the author, is an eminent and introverted entrepreneur and pushes back on the image of success as an intense, super social, sleep-deprived mover and shaker. It basically talks about how to achieve success on your own terms, whether it be loud or quiet. And that concludes our Books in Focus for today. Thank you everybody so much for joining us. Our next one will be back to its regular Tuesday on April 8th. We will be talking about the books coming out in May. Can you believe it?